Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 65 of IGEL Weekly. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I got Patrick Toner with me today, just the two of us. I kind of like it. Patrick gives us a chance just to have a conversation. It's always great to have Chris and Seb or even both on, but it gets crowded sometimes. And sometimes just a conversation between two people is welcomed.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know, today's topic, it's a good one for that type of a conversation because we're talking about a lot of our partners, you know, that we have a lot of experience with. So yeah, I fully agree.
So let's define that real quick, because I'm a big fan of this conversation. When we say partner at XenTegra, you and I were just talking about this before we hit record. We have vendor partners, which are people like IGEL that we believe that going above and beyond for is the partner, the value-added reseller partner, us. That's our job. That's our role. Like if they could do it by themselves, they would just do it by themselves, but they need us to get out there and evangelize and help them scale and get their message out. So one thing is vendor partner, which we're going to talk about IGEL plus 3 or 4 or 5 more today around analytics. And it's also the customer partner. I love to challenge everyone that when they say the word customer at XenTegra, they say the word partner in conjunction with it, because I really want us to look at life through that lens.
Yeah, I think that's a great term for that, because it really is a partnership, right? Especially when we have a customer. A lot of times we're partnering with that customer to, you know, they look at us as a trusted advisor, and you need to have that trust there. You need to have that, hey, we're in this together. We live and breathe this stuff. Those are always the most successful customers anyway. So other customer partner, that's a good way to put that.
And I think the best way to tie a bow on it, I said this multiple times yesterday in front of one of our new employees, you know, it's customer partner for life. If that's the goal in every interaction, then we have a good shot at being successful. Not actually 100% successful. I've got a challenging customer right now that wants to make everything we do difficult. They're a huge opportunity for us, but I'm to the point where if they want to make everything difficult, I don't need them, because I want them to see me as a partner and I see them as a partner, and just making everything a hurdle, that's not winning. So I'll go choose the other 8 out of 10 that don't make it a hurdle and truly partner.
Yeah. You know, I think, Andy, it's probably worth mentioning too, and I like to say this in all the workshops, webinars, and things like that. You know, coming from the other side, coming from the IGEL vendor side, to me, partnership was obvious with the partner community, the reseller community, that, you know, partnership is different than being somebody that transacts, you know, the transaction, right? They come in at the end, they close the transaction, maybe they bring into a few accounts. There's having a true partnership is always just, I mean, we see it a lot with the IGEL field people. You know, they love what we're doing. And I think the reason for that is because we're in it together with them. You know, we live and breathe it. We do these types of things, the podcast, the events. You know, it's a much different feel than just a VAR that doesn't bring any value or any partnership.
Right, and VAR means value-added reseller, and if we're not bringing value to the equation for the vendor and the customer, then we're failing.
Right. Yep.
You know, I was with my leadership team last week, and I decided in my head, and I was able to verbalize it, articulate it, what we want to be at XenTegra. There's a really big value-added reseller, and I use air quotes when I say value-added reseller, and I really like those guys, and I've watched them for two decades now, basically, and they're big. I mean, they're huge, the biggest, I guess I would say. And what I've decided is, after listening to them talk and seeing what they do and looking at their website, the goal for XenTegra is not to be them, but the goal is to be who they want to be. Like, they're huge and they want to be a true value-added reseller, but at the end of the day, they basically just have to sell software and hardware because that's what pays for the big, massive machine they have over there. I want to be at XenTegra what they want to be, but they can't be because they're just too big to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I think even being on the customer side before that, you know, the big, you know, I won't say any names here, but some of the maybe 3-letter acronym companies that, you know, they have some great employees there. They have people there that, you know, I've worked with through the years. They're awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's almost like it's a wholesale company, right? You're just moving stuff through the door, as opposed to having somewhere that's purpose, you know, hey, we know everything about the product. It's like going to Walmart to buy a video game versus, a small locally owned shop who they know every single detail of the game. You can go in there and ask them questions. They can give you answers. You're always going to prefer the other, right?
Here's a great way to look at that. They might be able to advise you on which game or which console to buy. They might actually have a way to give you credit on the old game that you have that you're bringing in, and that's helpful too. There's transactional as well as value add conversations to have along the way.
Sure.
I was listening to a podcast this morning. I had the ServiceNow podcast, which, as you know, that's a big part of where we're going next is ServiceNow, which actually ties into this conversation today. But the guy from City of Los Angeles, Ross, I can't remember the last name now, but Tim Ross, I think. He made a great comment, and that was credibility you gain in drops, but you lose in buckets.
So you gain in drops, lose in buckets. So let's unpack that for me, because I'm thinking through that, and it kind of does make sense. It's hard. He basically said it's hard to build it. It's easy to lose it all quickly.
You have to do a lot to earn it. You have to do educational things like this podcast, like the webinars. You have to get people to conferences like we do. We have to have meaningful conversations where we hold ourselves and our vendors and our customers accountable for bringing real topics to the table around what they're trying to do. We have to be open and honest with each other around, okay, I've heard from you that your need is to do X, but let me ask you an honest question. What is your budget? And I'm not just trying to find out how much money I can get out of you. I'm trying to find out how much time that I need to waste of yours going down a path that you haven't budgeted for and maybe never would be able to afford, or you can't afford this year and we'll budget it for next year to get it right. But it's those little conversations. But the minute you have, it's like going to a restaurant, you have your favorite restaurant. Some member of my family used to love Jason's Deli. We went one time and there was a fly in the ranch dressing on the salad bar. It just happened. We didn't go to Jason's Deli for 3 years after that.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's a good analogy. It's funny how that works, right? It's that one little thing that even that kind of out of your control. Maybe you can do something to keep the flies out. I don't know. Yeah, it's just so easy to lose it.
Yeah. All right. So the blog for today is by Divya Sagar, which we both know Divya really well. She works on the readiness team at IGEL. And the title of it from October 13th of this year, 2022, is Optimize the Employee Experience with IGEL Ready Analytics Partners. And you and I were talking about it, and you mentioned the word end user, and I 100% agree with that. At the same time, she, I think, used the word employee experience here, because that's where we're at. We're in a world where catering to the employee experience, whether it's remote work or more likely hybrid work, catering to their mindset, making sure they're having the best possible experience they can have, just like that restaurant experience, because that one bad experience without the ability to rectify it rather easily is detrimental to the long term, and you might actually lose an employee over one bad experience.
Yeah, and I think this blog and the topic of this blog, specifically around the having the analytics, a lot of times this is overlooked. A lot of the customers we talk to, the management level people just assume that their admins have this. Oh yeah, well, you guys can tell everything. You know what's going on with that device. You can just pull up logs and figure out what's going on. And a lot of times, the admins can't. A lot of times they don't have the visibility they need. And whether it's IGEL or Windows or whatever, it's you always have log files. You can always pour through them and waste tons of time and try to find some line in the log that says, hey, something happened at this time. But having these analytics partners is just huge. I mean, it's a game changer for the admins. So
we're going to talk about three. We're going to talk about 7Signal, Liquidware, ControlHub. We're actually going to talk about 4 because we're going to add ServiceNow, and there's probably about 10 others we could add to their SIMs that bring it all together. But something like ServiceNow is a place to go get the data out of and look at it in one spot and make decisions in one spot. But the first one here that we'll talk about is 7Signal. I think we've done a podcast on these guys, but this is really calling out a webinar they have coming up sometime in the near future. I'm missing the date here. Oh, October 18th. Oh, in the past at this point, but webinar they had, which I'm sure you can go back and watch on demand. But Patrick, what is 7Signal, and as an end user and as an administrator, both hit it both ways. Why does it matter in the IGEL world?
Yeah, so out of the kind of the three that are laid out here, 7Signal's a little bit more purpose built for a specific thing, which is around network monitoring. So why that matters, obviously we have a lot of work from home employees these days. So more than ever, you need visibility as the admin. You need to know when a user calls the help desk, puts in a ticket, hey, this isn't working. IGEL's not working. Citrix isn't working. Well, having that visibility and saying, well, actually Citrix is okay. That's still up. We're seeing in this, in this console that you have terrible bandwidth on your home network. You have really bad latency back to your ISP, wherever you live. You're on a DSL connection. Okay, we can see all these things, just have all that visibility, so we can kind of say to the end user, hey, listen, you have a problem with your wireless. Could you plug into your router? Whatever. It's just having that that data to not have to guess around at this. You have concrete data. You say, okay, here's exactly what's going on. Now I can address it. So 7Signal really focuses exclusively on that network, those network metrics.
And specifically around Wi-Fi, right? Which, we live in a world of end user compute, which for the most part, almost exclusively, without good connectivity or decent connectivity, that device that we have on the endpoint, no matter whether it's full-blown Windows or IGEL or something else, it's almost useless and can be maddeningly frustrating if connectivity is missing or just not reliable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's trying to solve a problem. You don't have all the clues, right? It's I like to say it's not having these things is like going to work without a tool in your tool belt. I mean,
or my old school experience where I was like, okay, not working well. I don't know what's going on. I have no analytics into this. Go plug it in. And oh yeah, by the way, turn off the Wi-Fi after you plug it in. I don't know how many people I've seen plug in the wired and then forget to turn off the Wi-Fi. I didn't know which one I was using at that time. And not have the data to back it up. And you spent days and days and days chasing gremlins that ended up being network issues.
Yeah. And I think right that you just hit the nail on the head. I think why the management of different companies, why the decision makers, people that plan and acquire technology for their company, that's exactly why they need this, why they don't want to not have this. Their admins are spinning their wheels. Their help desk people are spinning their wheels on problems that could easily be diagnosed with just a better platform for gaining data. It's just a huge time saver.
I mean, how many times have you done a ping test to a router or something on the internet just to see what kind of latency and packet loss you were experiencing?
Yeah, you're running pings, trace routes. So I'll tell a little, just a quick story about this. We actually, when I was at IGEL, we had that happen. We had a customer who they were in healthcare. They were up in Maine. They had a new CIO. He was actually ripping IGELs out and saying, we're going back to the fat client model, this VDI thing, because sessions kept dropping. We're getting away from it. It just isn't working. So every time what was happening is the user's Citrix session was freezing. And the CIO was just ordering, hey, rip that out of there, get a fat client back in there. And the admin guys on the team, they were reaching out to us saying, listen, we know it's not an IGEL issue. We just can't figure out exactly what the issue is. And so we went on site, we're running all these different, all these different commands, like you're saying, from the command line. We're using the built-in network tools. We cannot figure out what's going on here. By using one of these tools, in this specific example was ControlUp, those guys joined us for about a half hour, and within about 15 minutes in their console, they were able to pull up all this data, pinpoint, hey, this is exactly where the problem is happening. The admins could take that data and then figure out, oh, by the way, we have this hub in one of our network closets, and it's causing sessions to drop. Yeah. And so they were able to rectify it, and it's all having the data, all having, just a platform that takes all of these analytics and packages it up nicely. So you as the admin can look at it and say, okay, here's the problem, let's go fix it. So
Patrick, what's the nicest car you have in your household?
Well, we're not a real big car family. We do have a Ford Expedition SUV. That's our nicer car.
When you drive that thing down a nice, freshly paved interstate, how does it ride?
Rides nice. It rides nice on the interstate.
You take that same car and put it on a gravel or bumpy road or some kind of all chopped up road. How does it ride?
Yeah, my kids might have a little whiplash in that scenario. They'd probably be bouncing up and down out of their car seats. It'd be a rough ride for sure.
And my point in that is no matter how great you made the car, the VDI solution and the IGEL endpoints, if the road's crap, the experience is going to be crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It
it is
relies
so
on those things.
I have a similar story where we had end-user computing implemented and had all kinds of issues that fat client computing masked because you have a degree of packet loss, which is acceptable, and things still get done. Website still loads, it just loads slower, but it still loads. I have several of these examples, but one where you chased the wired network for days and the customer was like, time is money. And anyway, at the end of the day, I found out it was the owner's brother who wired the building because he owned the building. And when you put like a fluke meter or whatever, I think it's fluke. Anyway, you put the tool on and tested the network. It was all kinds of packet loss. And I said, well, who did this? And it's like, oh, Tommy. And Tommy was the loudest person blaming everything else. Turns out Tommy was the reason why the whole thing was crap.
Yeah.
And then to make it worse, we get to the end and the customer doesn't want to pay the bill because it took us too long to figure out that they had, unintentionally set us up to fail.
Yeah, it's a great analogy with the roads. I mean, that is, if you don't have, all of your underlying infrastructure in place and it's not right, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's IT 101. And again, this is why we need these tools. We need to have that visibility and kind of going back to the end, the end user, the employee. It's going to make their life better. It's, if you're it's kind of like going to a doctor, right? If you go to a doctor and you have all these symptoms and the doctor can't figure it out and he's running test after test after test, you start to get a little bit frustrated. It's not because another doctor might not, the second doctor you go to, they might run a test that just actually diagnoses it correctly and they tell you exactly what it is. Your symptoms might not go away in that moment, but it's knowing what the problem is. Sometimes the mental side of that, it's just a huge deal. So the employee would definitely appreciate this just as much.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump down and do control up, and then we'll come back to liquidware at the end.
Sure.
So control up, if you had to explain what control up is, maybe even talk about its origins, but if you were talking to a customer and talking about why analytics matter, and here's one of several products you can use, if not all the products, you might use them all simultaneously, but control up, how does that fit into the IGEL world and the world of end-user compute, VDI, virtual desktops, or virtual apps?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Control Up and their solutions. And just as a quick plug, if anybody's listening to this, we've done full workshops with Control Up and liquidware. So go to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in XenTegra, look at our channel. We have those up there. Good old friend Paul Bell, who joined Control Up from IGEL, did the workshop with us and really did a deep dive. But the thing, just at a high level, the way I would describe Control Up, it kind of, all the things we're talking about when you talk about metrics, when you talk about having that visibility, including the network, including kind of what 7Signal does, having the ability to see, hey, what is going on, with my home user. I can see their Wi-Fi signal, I can see their ISP provider, I can see, how much latency they have between their endpoint and, the data center they're connecting to. But there's so much more. I mean, there's all kinds of system statistics. So I can see, CPU, how many processes are running in the background. I get a lot more data, but the thing I love about Control Up is it has a really nice interface. It's very, I would say out of the three, again, the thing where they really shine is their UI is just incredible. Really nice, clean, crisp, easy to kind of look at and, just, understand what you're looking at because it's just laid out very nicely. So Control Up is definitely a solution that kind of does all of the above, all the things that we're talking about, giving you the metrics, giving you the visibility into your end users, into their Citrix environment, into their endpoint, and understanding all of the different things that might be causing problems, under the hood.
Yeah. So let me give a little background on Control Up, right? So it started from a Citrix partner that needed real-time capabilities to not only see stuff but interact, and it's evolved into even more of a product that does aggregate of the analytics over a point in time, and now to the point where it does the endpoints. I should have said this about seven signal as well as control up, and we'll get to liquidware in a minute. But these agents are built into the IGEL operating system, so you're not having to bolt them on as if some Frankenstein thing is happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's something that is a huge value add. If you're an IGEL customer or you're thinking about IGEL, you know, a lot of these solutions, it's just a quick checkbox, but so you buy the solution, control up liquidware. The IGEL part is the easiest part. You check the box, you point it to the the management, and that's it. It starts collecting data.
And that's one thing that I highlight about IGEL and the IGEL Ready program with Divya and Jim Irdo, the idea that they see the ecosystem coming together and give the customer the ability to integrate easily. For example, one of my favorite IGEL stories is knowing that there's 3 versions of the Citrix Workspace app on the IGEL endpoint that you can toggle in between. That's huge if you're trying to troubleshoot stuff and maybe you're trying to get around a bug or a feature that's causing issues. But IGEL clearly understands the value of bringing the main players in the ecosystem and even some of the nuanced players in the ecosystem together so that you, the admin, and the end user have a fighting chance of getting to a result quicker.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a strength of IGEL. One thing I didn't mention about Control Up that's probably worth mentioning too is they acquired a company, I think it was about a year ago. I think it was called Abacey, and they've turned that into a new solution, EdgeDX, which is just, I mean, you have to see if you're listening to this and you have not seen a demo of EdgeDX, you've got to check it out. It's in our workshop, by the way. Again, another shameless plug there. Go to our YouTube channel. We kind of went really deep into that.
That's where they have the ability to analyze the endpoints more robustly.
Yeah, they can analyze it. They can actually send commands to the endpoints. They can do so many cool things. And again, kind of in the same spirit of Control Up. I've always thought Control Up had a great UI. EdgeDX has a better UI than their previous, platforms that they've had. So I mean, it's just a really great, visual platform, and just has so many tools that you can use there.
All right, so the third vendor partner that we're going to talk about here that aligns with IGEL, aligns with XenTegra, is the guys from Liquidware. And it's really a handful of products there. There's the Stratosphere part, which is number one, what ties into the IGEL world. There's the Profile Unity piece, and then there's the Flex app piece. But the one we're going to focus on at the moment, the other two apply in the end-user compute world as well, but they're more on the Windows side of providing what is then delivered. Notice I said delivered, not streamed, but delivered to the endpoint. In this case, IGEL is Stratosphere. So that agent's already built in as well. And the reason why I held this to last, because at the end of this, we're going to talk about ServiceNow and taking all 3 of these or individual ones of these and bringing those into your ServiceNow, ITSM, ITAM, ITOM world. That's how we're going to wrap up. And so XenTegra has worked really hard with the guys at Liquidware to create a integration kit that you can get from the ServiceNow store that allows you to bring Stratosphere information over into your ITSM world of ServiceNow. But Patrick, what is Liquidware, specifically the ServiceNow piece? What does it do for the IGEL and the end user experience?
Yeah, well, just a real quick backup. The Liquidware agent, I think, just what that does overall, that's going to be very similar to Control Up. They have, sometimes they'll even tell you they're not competitors. In my mind, there might be a world where you have both. Because one does better things than the other, but they're essentially, they're both giving you that same visibility. Stratosphere, I think I like about Stratosphere is it really takes such a low toll on the endpoint as far as resources when it does all of its collecting and recording. It's kind of like an engineer's dream. If you're like a hardcore geek engineer type guy, you're going to love the data you pull from this thing because there's a lot of data there. Specifically, what you're talking about, Andy, I just had a conversation with a customer about this the other day. They were looking for a way to integrate IGEL with their ServiceNow environment, and there's different ways to do that. Obviously, IGEL has an API to say here, go do whatever you want with it. We have a ServiceNow team, for example. We've done this with other customers where we can pull data from the UMS into ServiceNow, but the reason we brought Liquidware into here is that it gives you a little bit more, right? There's more things you can do. There's a lot of really cool features with the Liquidware IGEL ServiceNow integration. For example, if let's say your end users out there and they're having issues, they're having network issues, or they're running out of RAM, they're having high utilization of RAM or CPU. the Stratosphere agent is going to catch that. It's similar to the control up, agent. They're going to catch that before, the user might call in. The difference here is with the Liquidware integration into ServiceNow, Liquidware Stratosphere can report that up and actually open a ticket proactively, so that you're basically, by the time the end user calls the help desk, they already have that data. It's sitting there in a ticket in ServiceNow and say, oh yeah, I see you're having this issue, and okay, we'll send somebody out to fix it. It's a much more proactive way of doing things. It can do the other things too. It can pull just system data and report that into ServiceNow, which your managers definitely want. A lot of the conversations I've had, but it kind of gives you that extra layer, just this proactive layer that's really cool, and it's going to save you a lot of time ultimately.
I would highlight that Control Up and Liquidware have been parallel companies, both doing analytics. One was real-time control, and the other was more aggregated analytics around the user experience with the ability to look at it real time. I think they've crossed streams. Right now, you got Liquidware has command and control, which is kind of a similar type thing, and Control Up has gone to where they're actually doing endpoint monitoring and grabbing that data as well. I think from both perspectives, they add value and can be used together. We got customers that do use them together. At the same time, they can also stand on their own at this point. What you need to know from a XenTegra perspective is, one, it's included in IGEL right out of the box, ready to go. And two, XenTegra is a company that can help you get all three of these into your ServiceNow world if you're investing in that. And if you are, obviously you want to get the most out of ServiceNow you can, which means taking every tool you have, rolling it up in there so you can make real-time decisions. You can make future-proofing type of decisions, and you can share that data within the company so that you, at the end of the day, do what's most important. And the takeaway from this podcast and this blog is bringing in tools that help improve that end user experience, but also the ability for you, the IT team, to manage to a positive result for that end user experience.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned any, but it's probably worth noting as well that the Liquidware ServiceNow integration was built by XenTegra. Our ServiceNow developers worked with Liquidware to actually build that, develop it, and host it in the ServiceNow store. So just shows the type of expertise we've had in that space for a while, and we're just ramping it up, which is awesome.
Yeah, first thing I'm gonna do when I post this podcast is reach out to all these guys, make sure they're aware of it, talk about, okay, how can we extend this, or how can we help the other players that are in this podcast get there as well, so they have representation on the ServiceNow store. And again, we can make happier end users out of getting that data where it needs to be. I will also add that I am talking to IGEL, and we're going to do it no matter what, but we're going to try to get some of that data out of UMS, which they have the APIs available. They just don't have an easy connector to do it at the moment. But we're going to help them get some of that data out of UMS into ServiceNow, ITSM, ITAM for sure. We can already do that today on the IGEL OS with Liquidware. Maybe we can do that with some of the other players, but we're certainly going to work with IGEL to get that data out of UMS and into ServiceNow.
Yeah, it's so important to have that, right, Andy? I mean, so IGEL's approach is great. You have that, right? It's great. You have the API. The conversations I've had with customers for years, including till present day, it's like, oh, well, does it integrate with ServiceNow? Yeah, it does. It integrates with ServiceNow. There's this API. Okay, great. But then when the problem is the admin has 10 other projects they're working on. Yeah. So now they have to figure out, okay, how does this API work? I have to build it. I have to test it. And most times they're not going to do it themselves. Some organizations have enough, employees to do it.
Does it integrate easily with ServiceNow? And the answer to that is no. You got to APIs and make it happen. That's where we want to fix it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, this is great. Great conversation. Good to chat with just the two of us. We'll have Chris on, I'm sure, next time, and as well as Seb, which should be a community edition. Always great to have their input. Sometimes it's easier with just the two of us, but they bring so much value to the conversation that having that three-way or sometimes four-way conversation really does open it up to who knows where it's going to go. And often that drives us down a path that somebody saw that the other two or three didn't see. And it makes for a valuable topic expansion.
And Seb alone, he brings the cool accent. So, I mean, that's something none of the other three of us can do. So, that alone brings a lot of value to the podcast, I think.
You saying my Southern accent isn't helping out here?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But, there's something about Seb's French, German, whatever's going on there. It's very, very exotic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I get tired of hearing myself talk. sometimes I listen to a podcast or something to go to sleep at night, and then it'll roll over into one of our podcasts, and I wake up hearing myself talk, and I'm like, oh my God, turn that guy off.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate the time, and we'll wrap it up here, and we'll get this posted, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Great. All right. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
Thanks.